This fall, our children are going to be entering into their new educational world. And here we go. It's called the bullying bill. This applies to the students bullying against another. I'm going to go right off the bill here. That is permitted, I am assumed. Bullying against another student enrolled in a public school which occurs on the premises by use of electronic means, 114, and communications on school premises. Line 17, by use of electronic technology and communications, as Representative Anderson here so eloquently stated, that off of school premises. Folks, this means this could go into your homes. State of Minnesota, know this. Off school premises. We're going to dig into that a little bit here. To the extent of such substantially and materially disrupt student learning or the school environment. Schools, a non-public school under this section as consistent with school accreditation cycle is encouraged to electronically transmit to the commissioner its anti-bullying policy. I would ask if Representative Davney would stand for a question.
He will yield. Representative Newberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Davney, would you define how are these non-public schools going to be encouraged?
Representative Davney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Newberger. That provision in the bill was put there at the request of the private schools, so they're already aware of the request. They wanted to share their anti-bullying policies because they see, frankly, anti-bullying as being a market opportunity for them. If they provide safe and supportive schools, that's the only way they can recruit and retain students, and that, of course, means revenue. That was their private schools' request. Representative
Newberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would beg to differ with your answer, Representative Davney, but that would take us until after midnight. This section on line 23 says it does not apply to homeschools. That's not true. It does apply to homeschools, and it will apply to homeschools. A school-age child who voluntarily, on the next page, participates in a public school activity such as co-curricular or extracurricular activity is subject to the same anti-bullying policy provisions applicable to public school students participating in the activity. Folks, if you homeschool and your kid wants to play on the soccer team, guess what? You are now under this provision. It will extend into your home if we follow the language of this bill. Bullying means, line 210, intimidating, threatening, abusive, or harming conduct that is objectively offensive, and there is an actual, and here's the part where I can't just keep my mind around this, or perceived imbalance of power between the students engaged in prohibited conduct and the target of the behavior and the conduct and repeated forms of patterns, or, that's that little two-letter word that always flips things on its head, materially and substantially interferes with the student's educational opportunities or performance or ability to participate in school functions or activities or receive school benefits, services, or privileges. Wow. Why don't you just wipe that out and say, if you have a pulse, this applies to you? Because it does. Cyberbullying. 218, cyberbullying means using technology or other electronic communications, including but not limited to, mark my words, listen to this, state of Minnesota, because this is what the Democrats, did I say Democrat? I meant Democrats. I'm sorry, the Democrats, but not limited to the transfer of a signed signal, writing, image, sound, or data, including the post of a social network, internet website, or form transmitted through a computer, cell phone, or other electronic device. So if it has a battery, the Democrats want access into your private life. Madam Chair, if this isn't a mirror image of 1984, I don't know what is. The only difference is that George Orwell was off by 30 years. That's all. And did you think about this, state of Minnesota? I would address this to my friends across the aisle, but currently I think they're a little preoccupied. So to the people of the state of Minnesota, do you have children who play games on the internet? Do you have an Xbox or a PS2 in your home? Do they play against other students from their school? Can they text and chat while they're doing so? If they do so while they're machine gunning and shooting and playing all of these games that are science fiction or military in nature, and they start trash talking each other, and that's over the internet, and that's at 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, guess what? That could apply to you. Didn't think about the Xbox issue, did you? But it's there because it's not limited to other electronic devices on line 221. This is 1984. And all this has to do, if we go on to line 223, is it says cause physical harm, reasonable fear, or emotional distress. Members, people of Minnesota, if you're a teenager, you are in emotional distress. Name one who isn't. If I could nail Jell-O to a wall, I'd have more luck than trying to define this. As we move forward and as we work into this bill, Minnesota, mind this, that this is what the Democrats, this is their vision of the future. This is what they want to bring into your home. This is what they want to do. Because basically, if you go on to line 2.32, anything may be defined as bullying. Now, mind you well, members and my fellow Minnesotans, bullying is nothing to be taken for granted. We have to stand up to bullies. We've done so as individuals. We've done so as a nation. What happens when you don't stand up to a bully? They overrun you. If you look at recent history, we're seeing that being played out again. We're not standing up to bullies. If you look at the Second World War, what did the nation of Great Britain do? What did Prime Minister Chamberlain do to Hitler? He kept coming back and coming back and coming back with agreements and promises and treaties, and he kept saying, here it is, I got the treaty, Hitler's not going to do anything, every single time. And then what happened? Finally, we had to stand up to the guy, and it cost millions of lives. We stood up to the biggest bully on the planet. So standing up to bullies is necessary, whether it's Adolf Hitler or whether it's the big kid down the street. Madam Chair, I can tell you right now, one of the most memorable days of my life as a child was in 6th grade, when the school bully got his clock cleaned. He learned a lesson, and I learned one too. If you stand up to bullies, you learn from it. You win. What are these kids going to do when they get into the adult world, when they get into the business world, when they get into the military, when they get into the working world? And when I'm sorry, what's it called now? The Technical Center. Thank you. It's not the Climate Center anymore. It's the Technical Center. So what are these kids going to do when they show up at the office to work and they think they're being bullied? Are they going to run to the Technical Center? No, it's not there. They're going to have to learn to stand up on their own. Madam Chair, the Democrats are turning our state inside out, and our children are paying the price. Our rights, our liberties, our freedoms, who and what we are, it's all getting turned on its head. There's so much more I could say about this, Madam Chair, and perhaps I will. I know somebody over there just cheered and thought, hey, he's going to shut up. But you know what? There's more to say. I was wondering how important this issue was to my friends on the other side of the aisle, the Democrats. Did I say Democrats? I said Democrats. I went on to the websites of many of your campaigns to see what your priorities were. Is this a priority? Joe Radinovich, no mention of bullying. Tim Faust, no mention of bullying. Jay McNamar, no mention of bullying. Mary Sawatsky, no mention of bullying. Shannon Savick, no mention of bullying. Representative Fisher, no mention of bullying. Yvonne Seltzer, no mention of bullying. Lori Halverson, no mention of bullying. And Will Morgan, no mention, nothing. No mention of bullying. Everything else was there. So if this is so important and we want to turn this state inside out, why aren't you stumping on that? It's a good question. Madam Chair, I'm going to close with this. This fall, when we're door knocking, it's going to be really easy. When we're talking to people, we're going to say this. Knock on the door. If you like your health plan, you can keep it, right? But Minnesota Democrats don't want to talk about the failure of MNsure because it's not germane. Number two, knock on the door. Minnesota Democrats want to build a $79 million palace for politicians. No, $89 million palace for politicians. I wonder how many potholes, bridges, and roads that could fix. Wish we had that on the Transportation Committee. And finally, members, in the state of Minnesota, know this, that Democrats have created the thought police. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They will have access and control to your children in your home, on your computer, on your laptop, on your iPad, on your notebook, on your cell phone, and oh yes, even on your video games, because kids talk on those. And guess what? Here's the final cherry on the cake. They don't have to tell you, the parent. You don't have to be told. The parents don't have to be informed. George Orwell was wrong. It's not 1984, but George Orwell was right. It's 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grandma and grandpa, Democrat Big Brother is here.